This is the painting The Last Supper by the genius Leonardo da Vinci, located in the very room where the fresco is kept. The room itself is sealed with the utmost care. To admire it, one must pass through 2 doors before entering. As soon as you step inside, the doors quickly close behind you, and each visitor has only 15 minutes to gaze upon the masterpiece. As the great master once said, "Tears come from the heart, not from the brain." Looking deeply into the painting, there is a silence, a hidden mystery, a secret revealed through the final supper of Jesus with his disciples. The work impresses viewers with 2 profound events: the institution of the Holy Eucharist and the moment when Jesus declared that one among his disciples would betray him. This supper took place in an upper room of a house in Jerusalem during the Passover celebration, a commemoration of the final plague upon Egypt, when the firstborn of the Egyptians died and the Israelites were delivered through the blood of a lamb marked upon their doorposts. Just before this, Jesus had taught his disciples a lesson in humility by washing their feet. When the Passover meal was finished, he began another, more special supper. He quoted the prophecy of David, "My close friend, whom I trusted, who ate my bread, has lifted up his heel against me." The disciples sat around the table in order, according to their position, sharing food from a common dish. This supper took place on the first day of unleavened bread, when lamb was sacrificed for the Passover. Thus, lamb surely would have been present on the table, along with wine and bread, stewed beans, olives with herbs, bitter greens, nuts, dates, fruit, and caroset, the traditional sweet mixture of the Passover meal. Jesus took a loaf of bread, gave thanks to God, broke it, and gave it to his disciples. With the wine, he said, "Take and eat, for this bread represents my body given for you. Drink, for this wine represents my blood poured out for you." Yet he declared, "One of you will betray me." The disciples looked at one another in shock, each asking, "Lord, is it I?" The one sitting close to Jesus leaned against him and asked quietly who it was. Jesus answered, "The one to whom I give this bread, dipped in the dish, is he." He dipped the bread and gave it to Judas, saying, "The Son of Man will go as it is written, but woe to that man by whom he is betrayed. It would be better for him if he had not been born." Jesus said to Judas, "What you are about to do, do quickly." Since Judas was the keeper of the money bag, the others thought Jesus was telling him to buy what was needed for the feast, or to give alms to the poor. Judas then departed. After the supper, Jesus urged his disciples to be strong in faith. They sang hymns of praise to God and went out. By then it was late at night, perhaps past midnight. From the upper room they went to the Garden of Gethsemane, where they had often been before. But this time Jesus told them to stay awake and pray. Going a little farther, he fell to the ground in prayer. When he returned, he found the disciples asleep. He said, "Could you not keep watch with me? The hour has come when I will be handed over to my enemies." At that moment, a loud noise arose. A crowd approached with swords, clubs, and flaming torches. One man stepped forward and kissed Jesus. It was Judas Iscariot. This kiss was the signal by which the soldiers would know whom to arrest. Satan had entered into him. Corrupted, he gave himself over to the will of evil and became the son of perdition. The day before, Judas had met with the priests asking, "What will you give me if I deliver him to you?" They offered him 30 pieces of silver. From then on, he sought an opportunity to betray his master. This explains why, at the supper, when Jesus declared that he knew his betrayer, Judas grew tense and uneasy. Look again at Leonardo's painting. It is filled with symbolism. We see Jesus's right hand reaching toward bread, while his left hand, open upon the table, points toward another piece of bread. He had said, "The one who shares bread with me will betray me." At the same moment, distracted by Peter and John's conversation, Judas reaches for the same bread. Leonardo chose to depict the instant after Jesus announced the betrayal. The disciples' reactions are vivid, 3 whispering, some angry, 1 astonished, another doubtful, 2 overcome with emotion, while 1 sits upright in loyalty. Peter holds a knife, foreshadowing the moment he would cut off the ear of a soldier in defense of Jesus. Simon pushes forward, eager to know the betrayer. Thomas raises his finger toward heaven, a sign of the very finger he would later place in Christ's wound. Meanwhile, Judas clutches tightly the purse of 30 silver coins he had received. Behind Judas lies shadow, while behind Jesus shines a bright window. The composition centers upon a perfect triangle formed by Jesus' body. He is the eternal focus, calm within the chaos. He sits beneath an arch of light like a halo, his hands stretch wide, the right hand beside the cup of wine, symbolizing his blood, the left hand open in a gesture of sorrowful calm, foreshadowing his acceptance of the death to come. The 3 windows behind him symbolize the Holy Trinity. The 4 windows to each side represent Plato's 4 cardinal virtues. Beyond them is a lush landscape, perhaps a vision of paradise on earth. The supper table itself becomes the boundary between heaven and the temporal world. As the 16th century art historian Giorgio Vasari wrote in Lives of the Artists, Leonardo captured the passions flooding the apostles' hearts: love, fear, anger, grief, their struggle to understand the words of their master. A curious detail lies in the food upon the table. Tradition dictates lamb, bread, and wine. Yet after the painting's restoration, viewers were astonished to see roasted eel with orange slices, dishes not common in the time of Jesus. Perhaps this was Da Vinci's personal touch, inserting elements of his own diet into the sacred meal. Whatever the reason, the Last Supper was not a traditional Passover meal. It was the supper of remembrance, instituted by Christ on the eve of his death. He commanded, "Do this in remembrance of me." Thus, he established a sacred memorial to be observed annually on the 14th of Nisan that recalls his sacrifice for humanity. This meal points us back to his death and resurrection, and forward to his glorious return in the future.